Hey guys, I'm Rachel Castile. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about the levels of development of all of the 9 Enneagram personality types. And I aim to paint a picture of the full spectrum of health. So I'm going to go off of these two books' descriptions of the types, and they articulate 9 levels of health within the 9 personality types. So in this video, I'm going to highlight level 1, level 4, and then level 8. And I would like to get into level 9 in a different video, but I think level 8 is a picture where I think we can all relate in seeing the descent to that place. So yeah, that's my aim, to give you a full picture of all of the types. And I will spend a bit more time on level 1 to show you really the potential of every type. Just all of us at our very best in freedom, and just to inspire you of what is available to you. Stepping into health is just agreeing with truth. Whenever we begin to be healed in our hearts and kind of let the light in, we're able to step into the present moment fully, and the gifts that are within us just begins to freely flow to the world around us, and that self-consciousness goes away, and we get to operate as we truly are. So yeah, that's my aim in this video, to show the whole spectrum, but also give hope and inspiration of all that you can be. So starting out, I'm going to define what health looks like, and then what the average level of health is kind of looking like, what that means. And then also the unhealthy range, what does that look like? So, and then from there, I'll get into all of the 9 types. So yeah, starting out, living in health, what is that? So living in health is living in alignment with truth. It's knowing that that core longing is actually true, that it's not something outside of yourself that you're like chasing or wanting someone to say. You actually know that message to be true. You're living from that place of truth, resting in it. And this just unlocks the types from their coping strategies and just allows who they are to flow, like who they really are, who they've always been, that divine, innocent child self, to be the place that we're living from. And yeah, this is a beautiful thing, just living in our truest identity. And in the descriptions of like level 1, the way I like to think of it, that is really just the beginning, because once you are living in truth, the sky's the limit, really. So yeah, be inspired that the Enneagram is not a limitation. It's just a way of discerning where you are, and yeah, helping you to make new decisions, and to kind of see yourself clearly. So yeah, but that's what health looks like. It's that place of freedom, believing truth. And yeah, that's for everyone. So now moving on to average. This is where most of the Enneagram descriptions are kind of surrounding. Like, this is that main stereotypical archetype of all of the personality types. This is when we've started to kind of live on autopilot. We're not really that conscious of what we're believing, what's driving us, but the core motivations are really driving us. You know, we're running from our core fear at this point, chasing our core desire, struggling with that core weakness, and being in that place of longing for that truth that our heart needs. But yeah, this is us out trying to meet our own needs, because the lie or that painful message has affected the heart at this point. So this is kind of walking through life, not really discerning what you're doing, but just living that personality type out in a general sense. And then from there, unhealthy is whenever the coping strategies really have fully taken over. That like childhood message is just reality on a deep, deep level. That has kind of led the type to live alone, to be fully reliant on the self, kind of unreachable by the outside world, and yeah, just fully living by the ego, and yeah, trying to make themselves happy with that same strategy, and it's kind of not working, but they don't really want the world to know their struggles a bit. So yeah, it's looking at the brokenness of the types that fall inside. And this is when it's really just the place that the type or that person is really living from. It's just living as an orphan, living out of your own strength, trying to just make it in life. But yeah, you're just really relying on the self and not really letting new perspectives in, letting light in. So yeah, that's kind of the types at their worst. So from there, I'm going to get into all of the types, starting with type 1 down to type 9. So let's look at type 1. Type 1 at their very best, so they're called the reformer. And at their very best, very healthy ones allow the full range of their humanity to surface, discovering that their impulses are not as chaotic and threatening as they feared. They do not repress their needs and feelings except to the degree necessary for healthy functioning, just as everyone else must. Thus, the parts of themselves banished by their superegos as irrational or chaotic come into balance with the rest of their psyches and are integrated into their total personalities. Their subjective side comes into alignment with objective reality, and they become exceptionally realistic and accepting of life, even of themselves. They let go of the belief that they are in a position to judge anything objectively and are able to approach life without emotionally reacting to it. Excuse me. They also paradoxically achieve their basic desire to have integrity and to be good. As a result of their self-actualization, they become wise, discerning, accepting, hopeful, and even noble. So yeah, they are not rejecting a part of themselves in order to be good. They're embracing their feelings, embracing their impulses, their desires, and yeah, they're allowing themselves to show up, and yeah, they're not criticizing other people, judging other people, or judging themselves. Like, that inner critic has calmed down within themselves, and they're not running from making a mistake or fearing that, or thinking that they'll be defined by, I guess, not living true to that harsh critic, that moral code, their principles in that way. And they're able to really sit back and observe reality. I need to plug up my laptop. Yeah, just observe reality, observe different perspectives, and hear different points of view, and just allow like objective reality to emerge, like what truth is. They can start to really be wise and have clarity of a situation. And in health, they become like one of the most realistic types. Yeah, it talks about like their subjectivity coming in balance with the objective. And yeah, they're not living according to some like really harsh standard on themselves. Therefore, they're able to just observe what's going on around them. And that reforming nature will still be there, but it won't be from a rigidity within themselves of trying to suppress themselves and trying to reform themselves. They become accepting of who they are. And I think from that place, that pressure's off of them, that perfectionistic sort of like, I must be perfect. I must do the right thing at all times. I can't ever make a mistake. Like, they're free of that. So yeah, I would just say like their gift is wisdom, is discernment of every situation, like being able to give voice to lots of different perspectives comfortably without emotionally reacting to something that they may not agree with. But yeah, they can just observe it, see it as it is, and then kind of see right action amongst a vast array of things, and still can be an amazing leader, changing things for the better, but in a place of health now. So yeah, that's really awesome. Now on to the average level of type 1. Ones begin to fear that others are indifferent to their principles, so they want to convince others of the rightness of their viewpoint. They become serious and driven, debating others and remedying problems while evaluating their world and pointing out what is wrong with things. Yeah. So as you can tell in this place, they're caught up in the middle of it. They need to be right. So they need to convince people of their rightness. I can feel it coming. Yeah. So they're living by their subjective understanding or morale. So they have to live by it and prove it. And then by nature of that, they're somewhat putting it on the world around them. Saying how life doesn't line up to that standard, because that inner critic is keeping them to it. So then by nature of that, they're wanting to keep what's around them to that same standard and reform the world, but from this average sort of place, which is not really a place of rest for them. They're having to do this to be okay with themselves. At this level, they're suppressing the things that they deem not good within themselves. They are reforming themselves, and they're out of touch with their emotions, and it's kind of spilling out in resentment towards others. That's kind of common where they're struggling with that weakness of anger, but kind of suppressing it, pushing it down. And I've heard it described that it starts to come out sideways, per se, at other people. So yeah, on to unhealthy. So ones at the lower levels are so desperate to defend themselves from their irrational desires and impulses that they become obsessive with the very part of themselves they want to control. They begin to act out all of their repressed desires while publicly continuing to condemn them. They cannot stop themselves. So they find themselves in a state of hypocrisy. I think just like fixating on the flaw, on the thing that they don't like or don't think is okay within themselves, that's getting all of their attention, and they start just indulging in it at this point. But still their ego is attached to being good, so they can't do it publicly. So they're still kind of preaching. They're still telling the world what right and wrong is, and they're not living according to that standard themselves in private. This, I guess the moral of the story is repressing things and trying to push it down is not a solution. It's going to come out in some way. So the solution or health or growth for type ones is to become self-accepting, to actually know that you are good, to know that making a mistake doesn't define you, because in this sort of place, it does define them. Therefore, they keep doing it. It's like condemning and judging the self only produces more of the same thing. And then, it becomes this secretive thing that torments them to some degree. So that's the full spectrum of type ones. Lean into just loving who you are, accepting all parts of you, and you can free yourself from that standard that you've put on yourself that even you can't keep up with. And I believe knowing that you are good, and resting in that reality, you'll make less and less mistakes because you're not focusing on imperfection or demanding perfection. And in that sort of place, you're able to kind of nurture yourself forward as you grow. So that's it for type 1. So on to type 2. This is actually my type. So type 2s at their very best, healthy 2s are amazingly unselfish and altruistic, able to offer others a truly unconditional, continual love with no strings attached. Their unconditional love allows 2s to love without concern for themselves and without necessarily being loved in return. Getting a return on their love is not what matters to them. Truly unconditional love is both free and freeing. Healthy 2s are free to love or not, and others are free to respond or not. Others are allowed to grow on their own terms, even if it means that they will grow away. Twos let go of the belief that they aren't allowed to care for themselves. Thus, they can own their feelings and needs and are free to love others without expectations. They also achieve their basic desire, and liberated twos experience unconditional love for self and others. They are joyous, gracious, and humble. Awesome. Yeah. So this is really freedom. Like I'm well acquainted with the whole range. I've been kind of in every state at some point in my life, just about. So yeah, at this point, there's not a string. They're letting go of expectations on other people, like that debt of like, I've helped you, I've done things for you, so you owe me sort of place. And I think the root of this is they are learning to care for themselves. Healthy twos nurture themselves and love themselves first. And then from that place, they give that love away instead of denying their needs, acting like they don't have any, or trying to find value through appreciation from others whenever they've done something for them. It's been called like the need to be needed and finding value in that. And yeah, healthy twos, they live loving the self first. They aren't trying to fix people. They're not trying to be the one who created the change. And yeah, like it's me who turned your life around, that sort of thing. Like you need me. What else to say about this? Healthy twos, letting people be where they are, loving them where they are, just giving people just love, and also just, I guess, acknowledging the needs. I've kind of said that already, but how do I describe this? A big thing that I've learned personally in health is to communicate my needs now, to let other people know what I need in a relationship, or just to be true to that, and not to burn myself out on helping others, but to only do that out of overflow. And that keeps honoring the self, that I'm not out in relationships with a deficit trying to fill myself up by being appreciated or being told, or relying on somebody's affirmation or reassurance. Yeah, it's kind of building up that self-value. So I may have said that like 7 ways of saying the same thing, but yeah. What else to highlight in that? Yeah, so I think just leaning into creativity. I'll get into this in the next video, talking about the numbers that are connected to the two, or to, the lines. But yeah, twos begin to kind of cultivate who they are and just enjoy their life. And they live loved and do the things that they love, I think, is part of that becomes health for them. Being genuinely there for people, just, yeah. Twos are just sensitive to other people's emotions, so there's still that element of being in tune with people, meeting the needs of people. Like, that's not a bad thing in type 2. It's just, it's when they're okay. So yeah, I think that's it on that one. It's interesting talking about my own type. But so yeah, on to average type 2 health. Twos begin to fear that whatever they have been doing is not enough. Others do not really want them around. They want to be closer to others and to be reassured that others like them. Twos try to cultivate friendships and win people over by pleasing, flattering, and supporting them. Yes, I've seen all of this in my life before. Yeah, there's like this just believing I'm not enough, like just being there and not doing something for somebody or adding value in some tangible way, that like getting reactions that's like, oh, thank you so much, you're amazing, or da da da, like without being like getting that feedback or being reassured. Twos can think like they're not enough, and then they'll go do something to kind of like incite of the reactions that we're used to getting from other people, to know that we're loved, to know that we're wanted, to know that we're valued. So it's kind of like the skill set of invoking the reactions that we want, and we know how to get those reactions. And we can get that by going out and people pleasing, and then people are like, oh, thank you so much, or flattering because I want to be flattered, that sort of thing. Supporting people because I want to be supported. At the average level, twos are giving to get. That's just, yeah, that's what's happening. They're using that gift of being able to read people to then give people what they need before they ask, and then people being really grateful, like, wow, you're such a good friend. That is this average state of twos that comes from that place of the two not really thinking that they can be honest about their needs. They're suppressing themselves. I'm going to look up the childhood messages really quick. They're kind of not in my mind at the moment. Here we go. So yeah, type 2, it's not okay to have needs of my own. Yeah. That's the statement. So it's not okay. So I don't have any needs. This is where the pride comes in, that the type is just saying that they're fine. I'm fine. But what do you need? I can help you. And then going home, and today was a good day because I helped somebody, I saw their needs, and I don't need anything. And that's kind of stacking up. There winds up being like a bit of a resentment or pain, or saying that people don't care. People don't care about what I need, you know? And truly, from what I've seen, it's from us twos never communicating what we need. Therefore, we act like we don't need anything. So then we can start getting offended from like the lack of reciprocation or care. And I think it's because people thought we were okay because we pridefully said that we were, sort of thing. So, yeah. Getting into unhealth, you'll start to see this like martyrdom, like this victim thing, kind of popping up. So I'll jump into that. Twos have become so desperate for love that they begin to pursue it obsessively. They feel they are entitled to whatever they want because they are suffering, because they have suffered so much, and they may act out their need for affection recklessly and inappropriately. Yeah. Feeling owed. It's all those debts. So people owe them something. They've gone through so much, and just pursue to feel loved in some way. Whatever that is, kind of going into just the depravity of things to just get that back, to get love in return from somebody else. Yeah, I've seen this in my life too, to some degree. So, yeah, and I'm seeing it's from this place of thinking it's selfish to talk about the self, to get the self needs met. So it's just indirectly, I'll help you, and then out of nowhere, look, coming back to me is the thing I needed, which really isn't what we need. We need to be heard. We need our needs to be acknowledged. We need to know that we're valuable enough to bring our heart into the light, and to nurture ourselves, and to communicate, because it's not that other people don't want to nurture us in some way. I just think it's the coping strategy of acting like you're okay is the part that becomes the damaging thing for type 2s. Not that we need things. We do. We need love, we need support, we need affirmation, we need reassurance. I think that's something that hasn't gone away as a type 2. Like even in health, it's just healthy to know what you need, to communicate it. I think we can wrongfully think that health is, look, I don't need anything. And I don't think that's it. I think it's, I get my needs met regularly. I communicate my needs. That's a healthy 2. And from there, twos can just love other people without a string. And um, I'll say it's been said, but I think it's true. I can say for myself that twos really do become the most unconditional lovers in the world, like just giving love because people are loved as they are. And I think a two that's made this journey of loving themselves, they know how important that is because that's the very thing that their heart has been craving. And now they've chosen to receive what they need and acknowledge that they have needs. And then they just innately see that in other people, and they can fill other people up with that love and not need that person to give them anything back because it's flowing out of a place of abundance. So um, I'm thankfully seeing myself here. How I kind of see my unhealth areas popping up is whenever I can feel like let down, and I then discern like, oh, I've had an expectation on somebody, and then I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have. Like, they don't owe me anything. Nobody owes me anything. And then as I'm able to let those expectations go, I get back into my own place of seeing, well, what is my heart actually longing for that I can like meet or communicate, begin to nurture myself and let my own needs be known, and then that place gets healed, and I learn to move at the pace of staying filled up. And then I can kind of notice, look, I'm having less and less expectations. But yeah, I catch myself when I get offended, and then I look at, well, why am I offended? I'm like, oh, I did have some expectations. I should not put that on people. I should allow people to be exactly where they are, to do whatever they want to do, and for me to react accordingly, and not to put all of my chips in somebody else behaving in a particular way that I'm wanting in some way. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing so far as advice for walking in health as a type 2. So yeah, let's move on to type 3. Type 3 at their healthiest, very healthy threes, they transcend their desire to be affirmed by others and accept themselves as they are. They are no longer motivated by a concern for what others think of them or a desire to obtain applause or admiration. Rather, very healthy threes shift their center of gravity to become inner directed and self generating. In so doing, they plant the seeds of their own interiority, their own feelings, and their own identities. They let go of the belief that their value is dependent on the positive regard of others, thus freeing them to discover their true identity and their true heart's desire. Their basic desire is also achieved, and they feel valuable and worthwhile. They become self-accepting, genuine, and benevolent. Yeah. They've picked up their own feelings again. They've picked up their own identity. The childhood message is that it's not okay to have your own identity, or to show up in the world as you really are. In order to be admired, you've got to be what society deems as a success. And yeah, so our healthy 3 isn't living on the drug of other people's affection or admiration. They know that what matters most is being authentic, being themselves, knowing what matters to them, living from that place, showing up. This is a very powerful type, a goal-oriented leader person. So they'll still be accomplishing, but from a very genuine place. And I think they will become a force to inspire authenticity in other people, greatness and authenticity. Yeah, just true leaders from the heart, staying true to who they are. They accept themselves as they are. They're no longer seeking the attaboy from other people. Yeah, that being tuned in to themselves, staying true to it, living from it, it's a really beautiful thing. So, what else to say about that? They feel valuable. They know their value as they are, not for what they can do, not for what they accomplish, but just who they are. So yeah, on to average. So average threes begin to fear that they will be overshadowed by the accomplishments of others, that their efforts will not bring them the attention they desire. Thus, they need to distinguish themselves from others by overachieving. They continually drive themselves to achieve more. So, that competitiveness is very normal here for type threes, that they have value when they're number one, when they're the best, when they have the nicest things. So, yeah, they're always somewhat threatened by other people around them having to outdo them, for fear of someone else shining or being admired. Therefore, I'm not admired anymore. All the attention moved from me to them. So, yeah, threes can struggle with somebody else being in the spotlight because it's costly when they're living off of the admiration of other people. So, yeah, that is kind of a common place for threes to struggle with that, to need to keep their image right, need to look the part, got to keep their brand looking good, got to look successful, got to get everything done, got to stay productive. Very busy people, they can be workaholics. This is actually my wing type, so I can relate to this a lot. So I have a similar like health journey within my wing too. So yeah, that's what average threes looks like. And then on to unhealthy threes have become so desperate for attention that they will concoct any story or scheme in order to cover over their deterioration. They do not want anyone to know how troubled they are and willing to go to great lengths to keep their emotional illness and misdeeds hidden. So just looking at the ego of the three is I am. They literally like, I am the image. I am the mask. I am. It's self-deceit. So they literally lie to themselves. Therefore, they can lie to everybody else. So at this point, they are aware of their emotional problems. They're like how different their real self is, like the depravity of the fact that they don't love their real self, that they're out of touch with their feelings, just their own identity, their own emotions, everything. So that place is not getting the love. So it's really suffering inside. But that is such a different picture than that successful image. So all the more they can really start lying a lot, covering their tracks. They can't afford to show up, and their real issues of the heart. So yeah, at this place, the scheming, lying, brand modification sort of behavior is really, really happening a lot. And they, at this point, are very, very fearful that they will be seen as a failure if people knew like their real state. Like, so yeah, the more you identify with an image, the more you're afraid for the real self to be seen. That's a common thing within the heart triad. I can even relate to that as a two. Like if I were to tell people my needs, then like, oh my gosh, that would be so selfish. It's kind of how the two experiences that. And the three, it'll be like, I'm a total failure if people see me as a fraud, which is their worst fear. But really, like, freedom for type three is getting in touch with their actual self again, and allowing the real them to be loved just as they are, not for something that they're doing or accomplishing. And the more they can love that authentic self underneath, they can lax up from like their goals and having to be the best and things like that. So yeah, that's a journey for threes to walk, to get in touch with the real self, love the real self, let somebody see the real self, and that starts to break down that shame that they're struggling with, so that their authentic self can be the one that's really walking around in the world and not the mask. So yeah, that's the picture for type 3. So on to type 4. Health for type 4. Let me get me some water. Yeah. Healthy type 4s of all the personality types, they are the most in touch with impulses from their unconscious. They have learned to listen to their inner voices while remaining open to impressions from the environment. Most important, they are able to act without self-consciousness. And if they have the talent and training, are able to give their unconscious impulses an objective form in a work of art worthy of the name. They let go of the belief that they are more flawed than others and are thus freed from their self-absorption. Excuse me. Their basic desire to find themselves and their significance is also achieved, and thus their problem with their identity and its stability is solved. They are self-renewing, redemptive, and revelatory. Yeah. So the gift that they have is being aware of their emotional landscape, of just their internal world. So yeah, they've learned to be in touch with themselves, but not in a self-absorbed, self-conscious sort of way. That stems from believing that there's something wrong with me, there's something missing, other people have something I don't have, I'm flawed in some way. And all their creativity that normally in an average to unhealthy state that's focusing on that flaw in themselves, their self-consciousness just is now just a positive awareness of who they are, what they carry, what their gifts are, what they're good at, their creative instincts. They're able to lean into that and create beautiful art. They're very in touch with the soul. They can articulate the soul in all kinds of ways. That could be, you know, making a movie, being a director, making music, painting. It could be all kinds of stuff, writing, and being able to articulate the self so well. Like, this is a very imaginative, creative type, and all of that fantasy, all that imagination is now being fueled into works of art, which is an expression of their individuality. At this point, they know that they are unique. They know that they are special. They're not just like longing to have someone say that to them or to rescue them in some way. They just know that that's true about themselves, and they love their uniqueness, and they express from that uniqueness, that individuality. And yeah, that's their beautiful gift to the world, and staying true to themselves and creating from the self. And yeah, being able to like love that individuality in other people too, without like feeling envious or jealous or yeah, thinking that other people have something that they don't. So yeah, that's a beautiful picture of health for type 4s. And then onto average. This is whenever the childhood message is taking root that there's something wrong with me to some degree. 4s begin to fear that their changing feelings will not sustain them and their creativity, so they use their imaginations to prolong and intensify their moods. They use fantasy and style to bolster their individuality and begin to dream of someone who will rescue them. So yeah, this is negative moods and using the imagination to just dive into that I can almost call it self-pity to some degree, like looking at my own misery, looking at how I'm flawed, and just like starting to create a false self, a false image of who they are or who they want to be, and believing that they are that individual that they're creating with their imagination. And this is getting further and further away from the actual self. So it's creating uniqueness without acknowledging that they were already unique. And this is stemmed out of envy too, to some degree. And making themselves out to be what they want to be instead of what they are. And yeah, living in fantasy. And still having that dream for other people to come and rescue them, because it's still a story of other people have something I don't, and nobody's identifying with me. Nobody's coming in my world. 4s can be known to have like a push and pull with people, letting people in and then rejecting them, pushing them away. It's sort of a victim sort of state because they believe they are living at a deficit. So yeah, um, yeah, feeling somewhat owed by other people a bit, or just wanting somebody to come into their pain and to rescue them is probably a better way to say it. So yeah. Now moving on to unhealth, fours at this level, they have become so desperate to be the individual of their fantasies that they hate everything about themselves that does not correspond to it. They loathe themselves and hate others for failing to save them. They may sabotage whatever good is left in their lives. Yeah, it's just that descent into that same coping strategy at a much worse level. They start to tear apart everything that's good in their life, because their moods and the place that melancholy that they're used to living in is just rejecting all good things, positive emotions, positive connections. Yeah, because they don't like who they are. The believing that something's wrong with them is producing self-hate at this level. So waking up from this is just like, as I've said, for the heart triad, it's getting in touch with the actual self, beginning to love and nurture the actual self, and to detach from the envy. Other people don't have something that you need to have. You need to love what you are and see your own uniqueness as a type 4 and learn to live from that and share that with the world. And that's where true happiness is going to come from. It's not from escaping into your imagination to create who you want to be. It's loving who you are and pouring all of your gifts into that place, or from that place of love. Yeah. So on to type 5. So fives, they are the investigator archetype. So at their healthiest, fives have the paradoxical ability to penetrate reality profoundly, while comprehending it broadly. They are able to take things in whole, perceiving patterns where others see nothing but confusion. They are able to synthesize existing knowledge, making connections between phenomena which no one previously knew were related. They let go of the belief that they are separate from the environment, an outside observer, and are thus able to confidently engage in life. They also paradoxically achieve their basic desire to be capable and competent and able to live in the world. They then become clear-minded, knowing, profound, and compassionate. Yeah. So I think some of the most pivotal things that it mentioned is they're no longer seeing themselves as an outsider, and they're able to see themselves one with everybody else. They're one with society, one with reality, one with the world. That fear of being depleted or their needs not being met, or that their needs are a problem that keeps them like staying away, they come fully into the light, and be present with people. And then that gift of their mind, these are types who really like master things. They analyze things very deeply. They want to be competent and capable. And at this point, they know that they are. They're not thinking, I'm not competent, I'm not capable, therefore I must retreat to increase my knowledge to be ready for the world because I don't feel ready. They just are there, they're present. They know that their needs aren't a problem. It kind of reminds me of type 2, like around the needs, just knowing that their needs aren't a problem. They're able to not be overwhelmed by the world around them at this point. And their gift of understanding and comprehending things, like the complex mind that's taking, or I guess simplifying complex things really well, doing away with confusion. So really this is a gift of understanding, being able to comprehend and understand things really well and to add that to the world. This gift, whenever it's not in isolation, is just an incredible asset to anything that they're a part of, any people group, any organization, any subject matter that they're focused on. They can just bring clarity of mind and incredible insight into things. It says they're able to synthesize existing knowledge, making connections between phenomena which no one previously knew were related. Yeah, so just very brilliant minds in health. And they're ready. They know that they're okay. They know that people aren't going to strip them of all that they have left. That sense of scarcity isn't there in a healthy 5. They know that they have enough. They know that they can kind of self-manage, and that their needs aren't a problem to, I guess, the people groups that they're in. That's kind of my understanding of it now. So yeah, on to average. 5s at this level, they begin to fear that their skills are insufficient and that they need to prepare more because they can take, I said that wrong. They begin to fear that their skills are insignificant and that they need to prepare more before they can take their place in the world. They feel unsure of themselves in many areas, preferring to inhabit the safety of their minds. They study, practice, and collect more knowledge, resources, and skills. So, yeah, at this level, there's that withdrawing, that needing to learn more, understand more, get more prepared, only wanting to engage when they feel ready. That fear of being depleted is very much present in just the average 5 archetype. And yeah, they feel like they have to become an expert before kind of showing up or engaging. Needing to specialize in something is a natural state of being that causes them to kind of live in isolation, to feel separate, to feel in their own bubble, I guess. It's like creating separation to have safety. I'm safe over here. Over there, not so much. So I'm just going to stay over here and I'll venture over there when I'm ready. It's kind of the mindset. Yeah. So moving on to unhealth. Unhealth for type 5s. They feel so small and helpless that almost everything becomes ominous to them. They are filled with dark fantasies and strange perceptions. They resist all help, shrinking away from people, and into feverish nightmares and insomnia. They cannot stop their overheated minds. Yeah, so this is the epitome of that isolation and the intelligence. They're very, very intelligent, and their complex thinking. It can now become complex perceptions, complex ways of seeing the world, like dark realities that are just very real to them, which then leads them to isolate even more, to push away help. They're still kind of in that place of, I'm taking care of myself. I'm making sure that my own needs are met. And my needs might not be met with y'all, so I'm going to meet my needs. So it's just retreating. I've got to help myself. But yeah, they kind of start to go into a very negative place. That I think is like still feeling that they're not even meeting their needs, I think, and not letting someone meet their needs. I think it's more of that, like they're just in the anxiety of their mind and they're not okay. They're not in a good place. And just that anxiety is kind of spiraling within themselves. Not really feeling ready still, and not really having prospects of feeling that. It's just kind of shutting the world out at these lower levels. Yeah, so what can I see just like the path back to health here? It's letting light in, whatever that looks like. It's showing up. I think the heart needs to know that you don't need to know more in order to engage. Like, you know enough, you can participate now. And that's just a choice that 5s have to engage with. They have to choose that. And I think the more that they just let themselves coexist with other people right where they are and not retreat, the more these patterns start to lose their hold on them. And they begin to see the gift that they really are, that they add to other people, and that it's really appreciated what they carry. And this is a very thoughtful type, like imaginative type. They feel very thoughtful conversations. They look at things very deeply to really understand it. So yeah, that's yeah, I hope for fives to come to know the value of their gift in community and to share it regularly, and to I think this type will always somewhat feel that they need alone time a bit more than other types, to retreat and to have their own just me time. I don't think that's a bad thing for type fives. But to regularly share what they are mulling over in their private time, and to communicate their thoughts, to share their insights, and to stay in community is a very healthy place for fives to know that they are safe, that they are enough, and that they're not a problem to other people. So, yeah. All right, on to type 6. Type 6 is called the loyalist. And at their very best, very healthy sixes learn to rely on themselves. They are in touch. They're in touch with their own inner authority and are able to trust themselves without the nagging self-doubt that plagues average sixes. They thus have a positive basis for forming balanced relationships with others and with themselves. They feel secure, accepted, and comfortable with themselves. They let go of the belief that they must rely on someone or something outside themselves for support. They discover their own inner guidance. They also paradoxically achieve their basic desire to find security and support, particularly in their own inner guidance. They then become truly secure with themselves, grounded, serene, and valiant. Yes. So, yeah, freedom for type 6 is being able to trust themselves, being able to know that they can make a decision in a place of rest, that anxiety is not driving them to see every negative possible outcome, everything that they fear that they don't want to happen, and then trying to prevent those things, preparing for negative futures, trying to create safety, and going outside of themselves, finding security in external authority, external belief systems. So that self-doubt that makes them go, oh, there's too many things to see, so many things that could go wrong. I don't really know what decision to make. I've got to check in with some outside source. That self-doubt goes away, and they begin to rest and build confidence in their own ability to make decisions, to kind of see the path forward, and to really conquer that anxiety, that core fear in them. And I think just being more settled inside themselves, they're able to have better relationships with people, and they can trust other people a bit more, and just have healthier, I would say a healthier relationship with the self is then leading to healthier relationships with others. This will make more sense as I get into the lower levels of what they're really like struggling with in the coping strategy. But yeah, this is a type that's still very much community oriented, but they're self-guided more. They're more at rest, and they're courageous. They're much more grounded, and they feel secure within themselves. They feel safe. Therefore, the gift, I would say, that they have of foresight, of seeing the future. It's now not just negative things. They will always be a type that is still thinking through what could happen, and it's just a positive way of being prepared now. It's not anxiety telling them what could happen, or fear telling them what could happen. They can see. They're just perceptive of the future, and they can chart the right course. They can see the right action to take, I guess. And they can do it from confidence in their ability to navigate or to lead other people. This is a type that's looking out for the safety of others that they love and or the communities that they're in. And now it's a place that's stable. So yeah. Now moving on to average sixes. Sixes begin to fear that they will lose their independence, but also believe they need more support. They invest themselves in the people and organizations that they believe will help them, but are uneasy about it. They seek reassurance and guidance in procedures, rules, authorities, and philosophies. So yeah, the war within sixes is wanting independence, but finding security and safety in authorities. So there becomes a bit of a tug of war within them of going under authority, kind of resenting authority, and then wanting to be independent, but then not trusting themselves to make decisions, and then kind of going back under and finding, safety in some external measure, a belief system, a doctrine, a dogma, a community, a family structure of like having to stay almost would say pleasing, but just in agreement with getting their guidance and advice from some type of external organization. So yeah, kind of putting their trust in others to tell them where to go. And yeah, this doesn't ever create inner stability for them still. Their stability is external. So the anxiety doesn't go away. They're just finding a way to cope with the anxiety by being aligned with something outside of themselves. And yeah, this is not health for our type 6. This is just what they're used to doing. So yeah. Now moving on to unhealthy. Sixes become so insecure and desperate that they begin to believe that others will destroy whatever safety they have left. They harbor paranoid fears and delusional ideas about the world. They rant about their obsessive fears and may strike out at real or imagined enemies. Yeah. At this point, like, they feel like they could lose everything at any moment, and they don't know who's going to cause it, but it could be anybody. They could be the one to betray me or take from me what I have, So yeah, in seeing all of the negative things like that foresight is just seeing every negative possibility, creating more anxiety. And then the 6 is potentially lurching out at those things to conquer them, to get rid of them, to deal with them, to end that possibility in their life. And this can be projected onto people as, man, they're a problem for my life. Like, they could take what I have, there's, I feel safe, but how do I keep safety? It's almost like if I don't vigilantly protect my safety, it's going to leave. I'm going to lose it, and they potentially can start ruining their relationships, which is then ruining the safety that they live in because it's still an external landscape. So, yeah, this is just a place of paranoia kind of tormenting them. All of that, that inner committee of voices is telling them every worst case scenario. And yeah, they really don't know peace at this level at all. Yeah. It's like obsessive fears, as it said. Yeah, they rant about their obsessive fears, communicating these kind of outlandish possibilities that they think are very real. And yeah, just kind of the anxiety has become torment at this level. But yeah, freedom still for all of these types is to find a way to sit back, see the anxiety for what it is, see that it's not the voice of truth, and to learn to rest. Like, you have to still sit back and begin to trust yourself to make a choice to then build confidence. But anxiety is just a voice. It may be very loud, but learn to be still to the point that clarity comes to you. But as long as anxiety is causing you to move, it just breeds more anxiety. So I think that's the way out for type 6. To learn to trust the self and discern what voice you're following. And eventually you can start to discern anxiety from peace, and to follow peace and to move at the pace of peace and rest. And I think type 6 will begin to have just a healthier confidence within themselves, and then better relationships. They're able to trust people better, not project their fears and paranoias on other people as their fear being the motive of the other person. They can start to see people clearer and have real foresight of the future. And they can be on the lookout for all the things that could happen, and that's a good thing. They'll be very prepared, but not letting anxiety be the thing that's leading them to prepare. It's just foresight. So, which is definitely good. Just being able to, I guess you could call it wisdom to some degree, or just even counsel. Yeah, just knowing what should be done, because they can see all of the different pieces that play a part in the whole. So yeah, that's the picture of type 6. On to type 7. So type 7, they are called the enthusiasts. Water break. So yeah, at their healthiest, healthy 7s, very healthy 7s, have enough faith in reality to allow themselves to have contact with the environment without attempting to make it supply them with anything. Rather than escaping from themselves into the chattering entertainment of their minds, they stay present to their experiences moment by moment. They let go of the belief that they require specific objects and experiences to feel fulfilled, so they are able to fully assimilate their experiences and to be nourished by them. They also paradoxically achieve their basic desire to be satisfied and content and have their needs fulfilled, and they become appreciative, ecstatic, and deeply grateful. Awesome. So yeah, healthy 7s are present to the moment. They are able to be grateful for what's right in front of them. They're soaking up just the joys of the moment. This is a very present type who's not escaping into the future, thinking about what they want to do next. They're just soaking up life as it is. Just kind of leaning into the joys of life. And I can see that being like a very positive influence on other people, to just like see the beauty of life, being appreciative for the people around them, being grateful for the little things. One line, it said, I like that first line. They have enough faith in reality to allow themselves to have contact with the environment without attempting to make it supply them with anything. So they're not needing the emotions to be higher in order to like feel fulfilled, or what's that word? Like just needing everything to be a bit more extreme, a bit more embellished, dramatic in a sense. They can just appreciate what's really around them. Like just feeling the moment, feeling the people around them, feeling love, soaking up the beauty of nature, the beauty of their environment. They're not needing to use their imagination to like make it better. Because a common pitfall of type 7s is being in a moment that they've dreamed to be in, and when they're in it, they're already dreaming about the next thing to some degree. So that planning escapism in their mind can like pull them out of the very things they thought would make them happy, that they find themselves still not fully there. They're being filled up. That emptiness isn't there. Like they live in a constant state of life, just absorbing life, loving life, kind of living in like a constant state of drinking, that they're not empty. The fear of the 7 is like a fear of boredom, a fear of just dullness, um, of feeling not satisfied. So them wanting to be happy. So the freedom for 7s is finding joy and happiness just in life itself. And yeah, this makes me think of Dr. Tom LaHue, who has an amazing channel on YouTube. And he's a type 7 and makes Enneagram videos as well. And like his slogan is be present to life. And I think that's really cool as a 7 to say that. Because yeah, 7s can run to the future. So yeah. So I think that's a good description. That's they're satisfied and content. Their needs are filled. Their needs are fulfilled. And the childhood message that is normally there for 7s is that I will not be taken care of. So in this healthy state, they know that they're provided for. They don't see future lack that they need to hurry up and go do something about it and fill their life up with positive experiences. They're just like, no, I have everything I need right now. Like, I'm good, and everything I'm going to need tomorrow will be there. They're resting in the fact that provision is always there. They know that they will be taken care of. So they're not anxiously taking care of themselves. So yeah. Now on to average. So 7s who are struggling with that childhood message, 7s begin to fear that they are missing out on other more worthwhile experiences. Thus, they become restless and interested in having more and more options available to them. They stay busy juggling many different tasks and plans and trying to keep up with the latest trends. Yeah, they're really characterized by just that fear of missing out. Is somebody else having something that I don't have? Am I lacking something? And then wanting to get over to that place to have that experience, to not miss out, to make sure that they fill their lives up with enough enjoyment that they perceive themselves to be happy. So, yeah, they can be easily distracted by a good time that somebody else is having, and then having to have that becomes a new plan. I've got to keep up with the latest and greatest things. It's a bit different than the 3. The 3 is like competitive in that way. Like, I've got to be the best. I've got to be at the top. But 7s are just not wanting to miss a good experience. They don't want to be bored. They don't want, they don't want to be missing something that's better than where they are. So better is always tempting to them. Like a higher sensation in some sense is always tantalizing to them at this level. Onto unhealthy 7s. 7s become so desperate to escape their anxiety that they fly out of control, recklessly acting out their pain rather than feeling it. Hysterical activity alternates with deep depression as they become increasingly unstable and erratic. Numb and heedless, they go to extreme lengths to suppress their pain. Yeah, that's a big aspect, is running from that inner landscape of pain, not wanting to be trapped in pain. And yeah, even at average, that's a thing too. So that's part of the running into pleasure and away from pain. So yeah, I guess the stronger the coping strategy becomes, or the more pain that's underneath, the more they won't look at the pain, but will act out of that pain and just get into more and more extreme activities, kind of numbing out, pushing it down, becoming you could just see it like they get louder and louder in the ways they have to distract themselves from their pain and plan just, yeah, bigger. It's the line, how they said, recklessly acting out their pain rather than feeling it. So you can just picture all the different ways that can kind of manifest. But yeah, the anxiety is something they don't think they can survive or deal with, so they don't want to feel it. And being still can make all of that anxiety kind of come up, so then they kind of take off, get moving again. So yeah, health for type 7s is just knowing that the pain won't last forever, and it's better to let the pain out than to push it down, because pushing it down doesn't make it go away. It makes you that much more like on the run. Because yeah, what you keep is very much in you. So just trust that as you feel what you feel, it's not forever. Let it out. Find some way to experience it and to release it. And yeah, that'll allow you to be in the present moment more. And you won't really have something to run from. It won't be something that you think you can't deal with. When you realize that you can, yeah, you're able to just find joy in being you, joy in being in the moment that you're in. And yeah, so it's kind of facing your fears, I think, is the growth for type 7 for sure. Knowing that you're capable to face it, and knowing that it's not forever, and knowing that it's worth it. It's worth like letting it out. Just see it as passing through you, instead of like, God, what if I get trapped in this? This is too much. I don't like to feel this way. I want to stay upbeat. I want to stay happy. I don't like when this stuff is coming up. So the more the 7 can not numb out or, create dramatic emotional experiences or situations, and they can just see life for what it is, they'll be the ones to find the beauty in it and begin to appreciate just life itself. So yeah. On to type 8. Type 8s, they are called the challengers, or the protectors. That might be like a subtype title of like the wings, but yeah, the challengers. At their very best, healthy 8s are big-hearted, compassionate people who are able to surrender their own willfulness to serve something greater than their own ambitions. They become truly selfless, not in a passive, ineffectual way. They retain all of their tremendous energy and vitality, but in the sense of acting utterly without self-interest. Healthy 8s see exactly what needs to be done for the greater good, and they do it. They let go of the belief that they must always be in control of their environment, which allows them to let down their guard and heal their hearts. They also paradoxically achieve their basic desire, the desire to protect themselves and become magnanimous, self-surrendering, courageous, forgiving, and sometimes heroic. Yeah. Type 8s have really big hearts, as it said. They have a tender center, like a tender core, that this powerful, protective person is kind of the one that the world meets, but underneath they are protecting a very soft, compassionate, big-hearted heart for others, for the innocent. They are protectors. They genuinely want to protect those they believe can't protect themselves, or just innocent, or the weak innocent. So they're protecting the I guess weakness in themselves. They don't want to be perceived as weak, and they will protect those that they perceive need the protection too. So in health, I think what changes for them is they begin to know, getting back to the core longing, that they will not be betrayed, that being weak isn't a bad thing, being vulnerable. They begin to know that they can let their softer side out, and whenever they really live from that place, get that experience, and kind of break from the ego protection, they're no longer like kind of self-interested in that way, that all of their power is directed toward keeping power, I guess, to protect themselves. So this allows that tender heart on the inside to really come out and to go to others, that they can see what needs to be done in the world. They can see, like it said, they see exactly what needs to be done for the greater good, and then they do it. So they kind of move mountains for other people. That passion that they have, that just that big energy, they're able to share that and do things on behalf of community, on behalf of others. That it's not just about self-preservation to some degree, or just building up their own power. I think a central thing about eights is power and control. Making sure just that they are in control of their own lives is a big thing, that no one has power over them sort of place. And yeah, I believe in health that isn't the fixation as much. It's like, yes, they are powerful. Yes, they have a lot of energy. Passion, I think, is a good word for them. Like, but that passion isn't only for the self. It's just they are a force in the world doing good with it, because their heart isn't hard or suppressed, or withheld from people. I think is a better way to say it, because they're aware of their heart. It's just walled off, like it's not accessible as much in lower levels. So yeah, that's really awesome. Onto average. So this is when the childhood message is starting to become real, that it's like, it's not okay to be weak. It's not okay to let people touch me. Like, that's not a good thing. I'll actually read like what it is. So yeah, it's not okay to trust or to be vulnerable. Yeah. Trust and letting people in, letting people experience my heart didn't go well. I was betrayed. I was let down. I've got to grow up and be tough, be strong, be powerful is kind of a message that average eights lock onto. So this is what it can look like. So average eights, they begin to fear that they do not have enough resources to succeed with their projects or to carry out their role as provider. Thus, they become more shrewd and expedient about getting the resources they want. Businesslike and competitive, they are more guarded about their feelings. So that weakness of lust, like going out to attain the things that they want, getting the resources that they need to be powerful, to be independent, to be kind of self-sufficient in a way. Yeah, they start to fear that they might not be successful at getting all of that. So they just start to kind of push with their will to get what they want. Like, yeah. And in such a state, it's kind of like territorial in a way. It's like, I've got to attain my own stuff. Yeah, there's just not much room for feelings. It's a more hard sort of way of approaching life. And yeah, their heart is more guarded in this place. And I see it as like conquering, attaining power, expanding your territory a bit is something that eights can be prone to. And then in unhealth, eights become so desperate to protect themselves and so fearful of retaliation for their actions that they begin to attack potential rivals before they can threaten them. They respect no boundaries and rapidly overreach themselves. Delusions of invulnerability lead them to endanger themselves and others. So I guess a picture to kind of go with this, you can think of like a mob boss or something, like somebody who is taking over territories, and they had to do like evil to some degree. They had to hurt other people to attain it. So in such a place, you fear that those people will come back and attack you. So you've got to just barrel more into that same behavior. And it's like getting power and keeping power, how to stay the king of the hill, you know? And then just kind of reading that part about delusions of invulnerability lead them to endanger themselves and others. It's just, after having power for so long, I've heard it described that an eight can be like, oh, nobody can touch me. Like I am all powerful, in a sense of like, I've been standing for 20 years and nobody's been able to touch me. So it's kind of drunk on power, drunk on their successes in maintaining power or gathering the resources to keep power. is sort of a place. So to not feel guilty about the things that they've had to do to get there, they just continue doing it. They just go more into those behaviors. So this is kind of eights at their worst. Yeah, so this is the descent of power and control, having control, getting control, keeping control sort of place. So eights can kind of potentially start to control other people, but I think the core of it is just making sure that no one controls them is the heart of the eight sort of mindset. And I think freedom for eights is still, once you can let your softer side out, then you're not trying to protect that softer side. You know that it's actually safe. You know that you can trust people. You know that it is safe to have that part of yourself out in the world, and you will not be betrayed. So this powerfulness won't be trying to defend some inner thing that can't weather storms. And I think whenever eights realize that they don't have to have that much control to be in control of their own lives, in any situation, I think that really would set them free to just like emerge and be present and to share all that they are, to give all that passion that they are, that heart, that desire to protect and to like see the best in other people, to help people flourish. Like I think that's something that's within their potential to bring the good out and to encourage greatness in other people. I think that's their like that great powerful energy that they are. I think they can encourage that in others, and they become that gift that promotes strength in others, but also vulnerability too. Like once they realize that vulnerability is strength, they can encourage it. They can be that safe place where other people can be vulnerable too, as a strong thing. And I've seen that in other eights, in my life that really have exhibited that type of presence for other people. So yeah, it's a really beautiful thing. It's definitely a gift. Just to live big, live as all that you are. Don't shrink back, don't become small, but also live from the heart too. I think that's the message for eights. It's safe to live from the heart and to be all that you are. So, all right, on to type 9. Type 9 is called the peacemaker. So at their very best, very healthy nines allow themselves to become fully empowered, independent persons. Having overcome their fear of loss and separation from others, they become self-possessed and truly autonomous. They let go of the belief that their participation in the world is unimportant or unwanted. Thus, they can truly connect with themselves and with others. They also paradoxically achieve their basic desire to have inner stability and peace of mind. As a result of their self-actualization, they become self-possessed, dynamic, serene, and present. Yes, this is great. So yeah, that core fear of loss and separation, that's no longer driving them. They aren't running from conflict. And nines begin to embrace their power, embrace their voice. They begin to know that they matter, so they can assert themselves, assert their own points of views. They can be different and not, be subject to the life pattern of creating harmony and peace through merging with people and not communicating the self. They kind of can be self-forgetting or just self-suppressing. And they get peace at their own expense. It's kind of the habit of like, I don't think I can survive conflict. I don't like how it makes me feel. I don't want to acknowledge my own emotions, my own feelings, my own anger is something that's very common for nines. So in this place of health, they know that they are important. They have picked up their mission again. They've picked up their passions and they are living guided by their own purpose. And yeah, they're not just living to see other people's visions carried out, but they are living self-driven in their own purpose. Yeah. Their inner their let's see. Their basic desire is inner stability and peace of mind. So in health, they do have that, but they don't, it's not through the coping strategy. It's just from being in alignment with themselves. They've embraced themselves, therefore they know they're being true to themselves. And yeah, they know that they matter. And as they honor that, they have stability internally. They don't need perfect agreement outside of themselves. They don't need idealism. They don't need to project onto people some type of peaceful story. They can let people be the way they are, and they can be true to themselves, and that is peace of mind. So it's kind of shifting where peace comes from in this sort of state. So yeah, they become powerful. They find their mission. They become doers. They come out of that numbed out, slothful sort of state where they go to sleep to themselves. So this is a 9 that's awake and that has embraced their own voice, which is really, really awesome. But 9's at an average level, whenever the childhood belief that, I don't matter, my perspectives don't matter, is showing up in their life, 9's begin to fear that conflicts in their lives will ruin their peace of mind. So they begin to avoid potential conflicts by going along with others. They consider many matters not worth arguing about, but will also begin to say yes to things they really don't want to do. Yeah. So they're getting peace at all cost, at the cost of themselves. And yeah, no conflict is the best way to go, is how they live. They just say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. Just, if I don't care too much, then I won't get upset. So it's like going to sleep to their anger, not wanting to acknowledge when they are angry. 9's are in the gut triad. So anger is the core emotion, but 9's go to sleep to it. They're like, nope, I don't have time for anger. I don't have time for looking at how I felt about any given thing, because that would potentially mess up the peace that I've created. I've created peace by saying I don't care. And then using idealism and kind of living in a false reality about other people and saying all things are well, nobody's ever wronged me, all is well, we're all good. If y'all are good, I'm good, is kind of a philosophy of the average type 9. We're all good as long as everybody is okay, I'm okay. And they're able to do that through being self-forgetting, by not acknowledging their emotions. And yeah, I guess in summary, it's creating peace by saying it doesn't matter. I don't matter. It's all good. I'm fine. Yeah. And then on to unhealthy for type 9s. 9s are so desperate to hold on to whatever shred of inner peace they have left that they fear acknowledging reality at all. They try to block out of awareness anything that could affect them through disassociation and denial. They appear desolate, numb, and helpless, often experiencing amnesia. Yeah. So at this level, they are literally blocking reality out. They live in a dream world. They can't process reality. They are forgetting reality. They're disassociating. They're denying things that happened because they don't want to have to face things. They don't want to have to feel their own emotions all the more. Like, it's the same coping strategies, just getting worse. And yeah, in order to keep this piece up that they've become addicted to, all the more they have to shut things out. The worse things get, the more they have to disassociate and use their imagination to merge with other people. They can be like very supportive of others to the point of like creating a false image of other people and then merging with that image and then saying, hey, we're all is well. Our relationships are so good, and it could be unrelated to what that person really is like. It's kind of like they're aware, but they live in a fog, and they choose a fog so that they don't have to deal with the flood of emotions that could come from seeing something that's negative, that's not for their good. So nines are very much about like other people's value and other people's worth and voice and making sure that people feel heard. But they're not giving themselves that same grace. So I think the way out for nines is acknowledging that, hey, I do matter. My emotions matter. My experiences matter. My passions matter. What I believe matters. It's worth inputting who I am and finding my voice and being my own person and acknowledging my worth. Like, that's something that a nine has to come to terms with, to choose that, to wake up. And they're going to have to face in ways that their value has been undermined or not respected, which probably has anger attached to it that they've suppressed. So then it's like being willing to let their emotions come up, which will disturb that false peace. But through real conflict, there is true peace. Because things are being communicated, things are potentially can then be healed, resolution can come about, or separation that needs to happen, that whatever acknowledges the value of the two parties, like they're able to embrace truth, to see people as they really are and not idealize people. Yeah, like at these states, nines can idealize and create an image of who people are and then be in relationship with the ideal and not the actual individual, still denying the real traits of the people around them and still just merging with those people, forgetting themselves, being one with those people, keeping peace with those people is a bit of a life habit of a nine. So I think I said habit. Yeah, habit. But yeah, so that's what health looks like for nines, just waking up to their value, loving themselves, asserting their voice, and finding their passion, staying on a path and not going sleep to their passions, to get back in touch with what they love, what they value, and to become the leader that they're really born to be when they're not going to sleep to themselves. So yeah, so that's all 9 types, and kind of a spectrum of all of the 9 levels of each type, kind of summarized here. So yeah, guys, I hope this has been helpful to you and inspirational in some way for you to see, just, I guess, having grace for every stage of your life where you can find yourself in any of these places, and also just seeing a path to really rise into the higher levels, to embrace who you really are, to embrace truth, to be all that you were made to be, to live in freedom, to believe for more. Yeah, to embrace life, to become more present, like how to get there within your own type. So I hope this has been insightful in some way. If you got value out of this, go and give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate the feedback, knowing that this made an impact. And subscribe for future content. I'm going to continue to make videos on the Enneagram. Next up, I'm going to make a video on the lines, which is how the types are interconnected. So each type is connected to 2 other types, and in different states of health or stress or growth, we can move to certain attributes of those other types. And just to show you that briefly, what that looks like, that's all our lines between the types. So I'm a type 2, I'm connected to type 8 and type 4. And yeah, in my next video, I'm going to just show you how that works. And yeah, just see like the paths of growth that are kind of set before your type to be all that you're created to be. So yeah, guys, again, thanks for watching. Thanks for spending this time learning with me. And I will see y'all on the next one. Take care.